please, the seat is yours.
Okay, my name is I am a postdoc researcher in the University of Athens, National Capodician University of Athens. I also teach in the American College of Athens. So this is where I live now in Athens. I used to be in Illinois 2 or 3 years ago, where I graduated from my PhD from the University of Illinois. Okay, so I think that's enough for the time being, and we'll proceed with my paper. A clarification, I'm talking about hereditization, like many people here. I have misspelled it in the title that I sent and in the abstract, because I'm one of these people that when they make a mistake, they like to repeat it. Okay? So with this introduction, I proceed with my presentation. This paper concerns the impact of UNESCO policies of international cultural heritage, hereafter ICH. I'm too lazy to say the name every time. A topic that has attracted scholarly attention due to the UNESCO's leading position in the transnationalization of cultural policies. As manifested in the rising number of elements registered in the ICH international list. ICH defines through the principles of community, sustainability and resilience, promises a participatory turn in cultural policies towards a globality of equality and diversity, liberated from the passive preservationism of folkloric authenticity and of each Eurocentric baggages of evolutionism and modernity. In this paper, I joined a large body of research that examines critically UNESCO. So these are some of my references, with, to be honest, the Skippers and Seeger book being the most influential in how I approach things. But in general, I have used the work of Bortolotto, Bruman, Herzfeld, Karababas. Okay, so I demonstrate how UNESCO policies can constitute cases of localization and application of cosmopolitan ideations on local structures that can verify discursive regimes, even in opposition to the 2003 and 2005 UNESCO conventions. More specifically, I offer an analysis of the impact of the 2016 registration of the Pontic Greek Castle of Momoeria or Kotsamania in the international ICH list. After a concise presentation of the Kotsamania practice and history, I analyze UNESCO impact as this is assessed by practitioners and community members. My main conclusion is that UNESCO policies can validate the existing processes and policies of hereditization, that I use the definition of Meskel as a canonization of the exceptional, with homogenizing side effects. So what is Kotsamania? Kotsamania is one of the 56 Pontic Momoeria practices, with Momoeria or Momogeria, the gen can be silent, referring in general to Pontic mumming practices of the 12 days of Christmas, to New Year blessing rituals that amount to incantation of good fortune through the prevention of the evil potentials of life forces, believed in the past to be active during the threshold period between Christmas and Epiphany. Evil is deterred through a ritualistic, thus controlled capsize of cosmic order, realized as disguise, ridicule, satire, transgression, sexual explicitness, and of course musicking and partying. Specifically, in 7 villages of the Kozani prefecture of Greek Macedonia, and on 2 days between Christmas and the Epiphany, 12 men, the Kozamani, dressed in caricature national fustanella costumes, stormed the village's house yards, performing in the sounds of the Aegean or Tulum, the black sea bagpipe, a feverish dance of synchronized choreographed formations. So a very short potpourri of this dance tradition, of this dance practice. disguised men satirically acting various roles: a doctor, a policeman, an old couple, a bear and a bear tamer. The actors engaged the crowd in improvisatory theatre following rudimentary plots. Favorite sketches are two: the death of the old man and his resurrection by his wife's fart. Okay, so you see he pretends he's dead in front of the car, and then the his transvestite wife farts on his face, and then he gets, he totally resurrects. Okay, and the abduction of the bride by a bystander, which recently, which recently has transformed into the brides attacking fellow villagers. The abductor or attacked victim is arrested by the policeman, and per medical examination of the bride by the doctor is proven to have violated her. Thus, he is subjected to a fine that goes to the community. So allow me here 1 minute of this carnivalesque kind of improvisatory theatre. So see, you hear that the bride is already pregnant, and not like that. All the above with continued singing and dancing, as well as food and lots of alcohol provided by the households. Kozamania is not native to Greek Macedonia. It was brought from the historical region of Pontus in northeastern Turkey, the Karadenis region, by the Pontians, the 1920s Black Sea Greek refugees, and specifically from the Livera villas that you see here on one of the pictures of the villas today on your right. Today it's a look in the Trabzon region. The Livera Pontians, violently expelled in 1921 during the genocide that concluded the Ottoman Empire, were settled north of the city of Kozani. They revived Kozamania in Greece for the first time in 1925. Initially unknown outside the Kozani county, Kozamania became popular post-1980s in the context of the Pontic amateur folkloric dance movement, when the dance, distinctive and easily zernifiable, became part of the curricula of the Pontic cultural associations. Eventually, the very villages organized their own cultural folkloric clubs, and thus also Kozamania troops as regularly performing ensembles. The popularity of the custom was benefited particularly by the internet and especially YouTube. At the time of the registration, Kozamania was already regularly presented in festivals and cultural events all over Greece and abroad. The pinnacle of this route is the 2010 performance in Semislouk. The momentary return of the custom back to its birthplace is designated the most important performance, manifesting the Pontic sensitivities of honoring and healing the traumas of the ancestors. Given the already established status by 2016, most interlocutors interpret the registration in the international list, ICH list, as a symbolic victory, a vindication of the custom's practitioners and in general international recognition of Pontic culture as representative of Greek civilization. The latter point, echoing the fact that Kozamania is the first Greek performative element registered in the ICH list, resonates a broader success story, that of the upset, persecuted, and marginalized Black Sea refugees achieving an incorporation into the Greek society in their own terms, not simply by preserving their traditions, but by elevating them into representative of the nation. On the other hand, symbolic victory means that the legislation is not necessary for the practice's continuation. The organizer and coordinator, Ictmd, mentions the legislation gave the custom a breath of fresh air. You cannot say that our practice was not alive before. For us, here is part of our life. Those of us who like it, we have always participated and will always participate. There is a consensus that UNESCO has helped in two significant ways. First off, it has validated beyond any doubt the authenticity of the practice, and already here we have an opposition to them in the UNESCO conventions, okay? Post-1980s popularity caused reactions from gatekeepers of the Pontic traditions. Proponents of the logocentric perspective, they asserted that Momoyeria is popular theatre. The Kojamania variation focuses on dance, downplaying the theatrical aspect, hence misrepresenting the tradition. Some questioned also the continuity from Pontos, suggesting influences from neighboring local Macedonian mummy traditions. Since 2016, this critique seems to have vanished into thin air. In the words of the Kojamanos Kostas Pilalidis, from now on, nobody can tell us anything. You have it at hand and you can show it. Here, my lad, this is it. It is not what we are saying, it is what everybody says. All people that have dealt with the custom have done research. A second realm of positive impact is a further rise of popularity, manifested as continuous stream of visitors. Katsafaru Triantafylou continues. It made it more widely known. In the past there were people occasionally visiting, now they come every year. Regular visitors belong to the community's diasporas, but also to a public specifically allured by the UNESCO symbolic capital. Photographers, video makers, in general visual artists, journalists and academics. It is thanks to UNESCO that we are here, told me a fieldwork friend. Since 2016, with the exception of 2020, the COVID year, local and national TV channels have been covering the ritual every year. UNESCO-related higher symbolic capital has augmented the awareness of the cultural value. There is a parental interest in the Pontic and culturating aspect of the custom. Hence, after 2016, the Villages Association organized Momoyeria dance classes for children, as well as educational programs. The due test of those initiatives, Efis Katsafaru Triantafylou idea for a Kojamanos plain on mirror. Cute, only 30 euros. Actually, it's pretty expensive. Most practitioners agree that thanks to these developments, the future of the custom is guaranteed. Contrary to other periods when the ranks of dancers and actors could not be filled, the association head Apostolos Kalianidis remarks, this is the main positive thing that the registration gives us. For the following 15 or maybe 20 years, there are people, the next generation has been secured. All this said, popularity comes with a price. In the community of the Tralifo, by far the most visited, the crowds are so large that prevent the movement of the Kojamani from house to house. In many communities, there is a concern that the treats and alcohol offered by the houses might not suffice for all the visitors. Local committees have responded by setting tables in public spaces or by involving businesses. These practical difficulties create a danger of an alteration of the custom from a participatory community ritual to a festival or folkloric presentation. Since most of the visitors are not Bonians and are not aware of the custom, they cannot also participate in the sketches, assuming the role of the passive and as a result also disruptive spectator. They do not even make room for the abduction of the brides, mentioned the Kojamanos head Ioannis Pilalidis. Pressure for satisfying the large crowds results in the provision of food as pet service or sponsorship, and the intensification of alcohol drinking and singing to the expense of the theater. Kalianidis mentions, I'm afraid that if we go like this, we will turn it into a village fair. The higher side, however, is copycats, imitations. The popularity of the practice has inspired other communities and associations to develop their own Kojamanian troops. While the initial 1980s trend concerned only the dance, post-2016 efforts aim at the performance of the ritual as a whole. Interlocutors reported multiple cases of alterations in choreography, lack of improvisation in the sketches, and the participation of women, a change that defies the very name of the custom. Kotsamani, that in Pontic Greek taken from the Turkish kotsaman, means large man. The term adulteration, an anathema in the Paleofolkloric discourse, figures prominently in the description of these changes. The adulteration concern mediates also the fear of losing the exclusivity of the custom, a possibility that opposes the UNESCO objectives, and which also amounts to cultural impoverishment through the identification of the diverse practice of Momoelia with the liberal tradition of Kotsamania only. Kostas Pilalidis remarks, not all Momoelia is Kotsamania, there are 56 variations. They should research what was performed in the Pontic provinces where they came from and revive their own traditions. Not surprisingly, the community members scold this imitation by exposing them as erroneous through references to the 2016 registration as a proof of authenticity and authorship. This short survey of the legislation assessment verifies the critique on UNESCO. The registration has supported the performance practice, but at the same time, and in a typical localization fashion, UNESCO terminology has been incorporated to the local discourse regime. In this case, Greek amateur nationalist folklore. Hence, ICH is understood as authenticity, with the expected contradictions. The copycat trend is characteristic. The imitators are unwilling to revive their traditions, preferring a practice that enjoys already the status of internationally recognized cultural heritage. In this case, UNESCO, by validating a living cultural practice, contributes to cultural homogenization. This reproduces broader Pontic pathogenies. The overemphasis on dance after the 1980s was the result of the abandonment of the Pontic Greek dialect, consistent with the monolinguistic policies of Greek nationalism. The elevation of the one homogeneous practice that has dance into ICH resonates and validates the neglect of language. At the same time, focus on authenticity restricts the dynamic potentials of the practice. For example, the rejection of the participation of women in the dance and acting as inauthentic. The argument is that regardless of gender equality, the custom's form has to be safeguarded the way it has been inherited, although it might reproduce the patriarchal condition of the male domination of public spaces. Truth to be told, women are extremely active as participants, especially bride attractors, and behind the scene as food providers, organizers, and presidents and coordinators of the cultural associations. Lately, there are also the musicians. In 4 out of the 6 performances uncovered last Christmas, the Toulouse player was a woman, unheard of 12 years ago. Moreover, many women do not seem to mind the primacy of the men, mentioning that in a broader social context where sexism is still dominant, the Kotsamania stylistic restriction is the least of their concern. This last remark reveals one more possible complication of fetishization, the removal of the element from everyday life. However, here this happens in ways that redefine sociality through nostalgia, and that's my last point. The registration has contributed to the folkloric projection of the Kotsamania into the transcendental realm of authenticity. The economic impact has been imbalanced and ephemeral at best. Only one community has been majorly benefited. Most villages do not present any palpable economic benefits from Kotsamania. The registration has benefited the sustainability of the communities on a social level, though, albeit in ways that verify the existing status quo. The rural communities of the Kozani area have held their population contrary to post-1950s urbanization of Greece. The main reason has been the operation of lignite factories and mines in the province, until recently the main energy providers for the entire country. The abandonment of farming, and more recently also the lignite, in the context of the European Greek energy policy, have led to a peculiar phenomenon of semi-suburbanization, with the majority of the villages actually living in nearby Kozani, the city of Kozani, and in the capital of Greek Macedonia, Thessaloniki, and commuting to their villages weekly or daily. In other words, the 7 villages that host the custom function more as leisure spaces than residential and active economic areas. According to most accounts, the Kotsamania is the main activity that gathers all the members of the the main event that brings all the villages back to their localities. In this sense, UNESCO has supported the community life of the 7 Kosamanga villages by offering heterotopic performances of the communal as imagined solidarity instead of everyday organic sociality. Practitioners and community members are well aware of this, describing the custom as the main element that connects them with their communitarian past and the means for a nostalgic reflection on the past organic social way of life. In a peculiar fashion, the heritage of the Kosamanga seems to have affected the heritageization of the community. Whether this is sustainable, it is still to be seen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Johannes. We have some short time for questions. Diana?
Hello. Thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. I was wondering, I was searching for the meaning of the words Momoyere, and I found it in the explanation of the UNESCO. But I wondered if you know because you also chose the word mumming, and there is a bigger discussion whether mumming and kukeri, let's say, in the Balkan context, means the same. So I was wondering, could you please explain mumming and momoyere, just the differences in the words?
Well, I do not know if there is any etymological relationship between mumming and momoyere. Premise on Crete, okay, that I have an obsession with this guy. Mumming are carnivalesque performances that involve masquerading. Here we do not have masquerading, only specific actors are masquerading, but this is due to Greek policies in the 1930s. The Metaxas dictatorship issued a law according to which the coverage of the head of the face is illegal. And I think that the law has remained in the typical Greek way somewhere there, lacking. So they just dropped the masking. In the good old times, they were all masked. So I chose the mumming premised on Crete definition. And in order to make a connection with the broader traditions, the etymology that they give is that momoyeria is from the words hiereas, which means priest, and momos was the ancient Roman god of satire, scolding, and the rest, which might be something there also with mumming, but I do not know. And also it sounds quite a lot like typical Greek folkloric survivalist theory. Okay, that everything that is folkloric should somehow come from ancient Greece, nowhere else. Okay, so I'm quite ambivalent towards this etymology.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We have 2 more questions. Maybe we can put it short. First one is Naila.
Thanks for the presentation. Of course, as one can expect, the direct consequence, one of the consequences of the UNESCO inscription was the recognition of authenticity of the ritual. But on the other hand, as you know, UNESCO, the concept of authenticity, originality, and these terms and similar are forbidden in UNESCO vocabulary. I mean, directly forbidden. And so my question is, probably the community does not pay attention to that fact. But when it comes to communication of probably intermediaries between communities in question and UNESCO, I wonder how this conflict is negotiated.
Well, the leading personas in the administration are 2 formidable, in my opinion, Pontic folklorists and scholars who were clever enough to leave the authenticity term outside of the application. And they are not proponents really of the authenticity themselves. But as you mentioned, this is how the local see it. And it has to do also with intra-Pontic competitions. And it has to do also here with authenticity, not so much, it has the folkloric element, but mostly it has the element of the duty. It is post-memory. It is not even memory, post-memory. It is the duty to the memory of the refugee generation. This is what they talk about. So what needs to be done actually, what I need to be done is to work more on how they approach authenticity. That it has been folklorized, however, the term is obvious. Now, I didn't include that to the presentation, but there are so many different ways that they approach the intangible cultural heritage. There are other people that they avoid authenticity, but after quite a lot of discussion, you see that they end up talking about the same thing. I don't know if this answers to your question. They were clever enough not to bring it to the application. And what I have seen in multiple cases with UNESCO is that it functions a little bit as a franchise. Okay, so it gives a bunch of tools that are being interpreted. This is what I'm talking about localization. However, the people want in the local context, and then you have this umbrella organization with people understanding things really differently. That's my impression from what I have read and from what I see in my research. I don't know if I answered your question. We can talk more.
Thank you. A last short question.
Thank you. Hello, and thank you for your contribution. Great. Just an idea, because when I first saw the Momoega Kojamanis, I was a little bit shocked to see the combination of Pontic culture and the Fustanella, because there's no Fustanella in the Pontic area. And I thought this is probably modern Greek influence because it's in the national costume, a part of Steriala and the Psoriasis and Fustanella region in the central Greece. But then I saw features that existed in the Pontus area before. So what's your opinion, your theory about how did it arrive in the Pontus region, the Fustanella?
Yeah, well, Fustanella was proclaimed into the Greek national costume in the 1830s and 40s because of the two first kings, Otto and Amalia. They decided, following the Hungarian and Austrian actually models, to create a kind of ballroom, kind of attire that was inspired from folk elements. This is why the Fustanellas are so short. In the real garment, nobody was going, like this, because it's up in the mountains. This was spread in the entire Greek world, including to the Ottoman Greeks, through the Greek school system. So we know that they were not wearing the pontos, but they knew that this is the Greek national attire in the Karadenis, already in 1850s and 1860s, because of the schools, the Greek schools that operated there. The first actually Greek Ottoman school was in Trabzon in 1683, before the one of Izmir, Evangeliki, and the Frontispicio of Trabzon was the first. So this is how they knew of Fustanella. And it is interesting that they use it in a carnivalesque custom. I don't know if they were making fun of it, because after all it was something foreign to them, or if it was a way somehow to comment on the rise of nationalism, or it was a way to wear it publicly in an Ottoman context. Also, there is another theory that I have to check. The Liberaria Greeks were very good tailors. This is a complicated fabric with many folds. So it was a way of advertising. Look what amazing kind of garments we can make. Okay, so there are three possible explanations, but we know that they had the Fustanellas and this kind of customs, and there is historical evidence already since the Tanzimat period, 1850s, I think, or 60s. Okay, and they brought it to Greece. And they said that it was easier to do it in Greece because there were more Fustanellas, available around. Okay. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Johannes. Thank you for the questions. We are moving on to our next panel, and the first speaker is Mehmet Özcan, whom you all know very well. He is a professor at Ege University State Conservatory of Turkish Music. He's the head of the department for Turkish folk dance there, and as you all know, he's also the pasha of this study group. The title of his paper today is Integration of Traditional Dance into Stage Performances in Turkey, Ictmd Dance Group's Approach to Staging the Local Dance Tradition.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure, am I able to be present my paper after too much Turkey yesterday night.
But I will try. Today I will give you information about integration of traditional dance into stage performance in Turkey. All my examples will be on the Ictmd Dance Ensemble, which is my conservatory folk dance department dance ensemble. And from their performances, I will try to evaluate how is going on in Turkey after this, especially in the 20th centuries. In folk dance staging, Turkey has experienced a great transformation, especially under the influence of staging movements that emerged in Eastern Europe in the 20th century. The modern style of performing dance has become established through Turkey. Staging techniques developed by choreographers who graduated from Turkish folk departments have standardized and institutionalized the presentation of music and dance tradition. In this study, the transformation of traditional dance presentation will be analyzed in terms of originality, music-dance relationship, attitudes towards individuality or innovation, based on the example of Ege University. The dance culture previously performed in closed and traditional environments within each society was transformed into a social activity that strengthened one's sportive, cultural, and social aspects by institutions such as Ictmd, community centers, and religious institutes, which were established to create a national identity in the Republican period. Amateur folk dance ensembles were formed in a social factors that were founded by the state, similar to socialist countries. Workers who shared the cultural characteristics of the same region proceeds to perform their local dances without worrying about staging techniques. In the folk dance performance by students of the Gazi University Physical Education Department in 1940, they used the costume for dancing, and also the dancers was not local person. It was the first experience for that time in 40s. The main feature of this period staging is that the local dance step sequences are put in order to performed by all dancers together while adhering to the local dance forms. I mean, they used the traditional floor pattern, just they want to do it in order. It was the aim of these days. Then we check the 50s. Between 50 and 60, immigration, urbanization, and level of education in urban communities increased, and the cultural gap between rural and the urban life is deepened. In cities, traditional dance gets recognized as a cultural heritage that can be kept alive through staging. The participation of women in staging of traditional dance has been seen as a sign of cultural development. I made this research for myself about Folk Dance Association. They founded in 55, and they give a prize, and they make an advertisement, and they said 3,000 men they participated, and they had a silver prize, and also 300 women they take place in staging, and they had a golden prize, and they understood that their support to be visible in the stage, the women, because of the westernization of Turkey. Also, I would like to say one important thing. Cluj Dance Ensemble, as you know, it is national ensemble of Serbia. First time in 1951, they came to Ankara. It was a big shock for us because they danced with choreography, and also they used the orchestra when they dancing. And our cultural ministry asked him, who is highly older, he's teacher of my teacher,
He is the first folk dance teacher in conservatory. As you know, Madame Nicole, who are founder of British Ballet, she came in 48 to Turkey, and she also created first ballet school in Turkey. She decided to put in this curriculum a folk dance lesson, and all Turks, they were very against her because they said, we invite you to be a modernization and the westernization, why you want to put the lessons? But she insisted, and Halil Oğuz'u, the first time he became a folk dance teacher in that school, he started to teach. And in 51, when the folk dance ensemble had a performance, our cultural minister asked him, why we don't have this kind of performances, how we can do it. He said, this is choreography and it needs the education. And they sent him in 52 to Belgrade. He stayed 1 year there, and he had the education and he observed what they were staging. And when he came back to Turkey, he told me, I made an interview with him. He said it was two things was very important. Don't repeat too much the steps. You have to repeat only 2 or 3 times, and don't turn back your backside to audience. You should always dance to look at them. It was the first experience from him. And he made, in 53, he made first performance on that idea, the staging idea. It was the village, the name of the performance, Village Celebration, and he made one scenario, a kind of scenario, and there are 2 many armies. In Turkey there is 7 different geography. He collects from every geography their army, and they came together in the army and they discussed. Then we married, I will invite you. And later on, all of them, they have a marriage ceremony, they invite each other, and the scenario was like this: 45 persons, they danced in this scenario. They used a little bit decoration, and on the first time they used the makeup because they were coming from the classic ballet department, and it is the first scheme in Turkey in this time. These photos from that performances. In the traditional dance presentation of this period, transferring the most authentic form of dance to future generation is aimed. The view of that context space change does not affect the concept of authenticity prevalence. The idealized and standardized version of the dance, combined from multiple people, is authentically staged. During this time, local dances were performed as a social activities by dancers who did not have a local codes of that culture. In performances during this period, live music by local musicians is an indispensable element of dance presentation. Folk dance competition also another subject for us because it started to do it in 65, has libre dance being performed dynamically and with attentional stage aesthetic by breaking away from traditional context. This is another big point for us. State dance ensemble, they founded in 75, pursued a policy aimed at presenting folk dance in Western norms by stylizing them, reaching a uniform appearance in dance by eliminating the physical and personal attitude differences of dance was deemed important. In state folk dance performances, creating geometric and dynamic space patterns has been a more priority than the local dancing characteristics. Dances are connected to each other in suite form. I mean, before I was also dancing, we were dancing one dance and stop, and other music start and we stop, and later on in their time it started with the suite without the break. It has to continue. In staging a universal aesthetic expression form, become more important than the local gestures in this time. And later I am switching the Turkish folk departments, and they founded first in 1984 in Belmar's school. They opened the folk dance department. In 1989 we opened in Ege University. The Turkish conservatories were established as an alternative of the Western Music Conservatory. It was the main aim of the government at that time, because the Turkishness became more important in the 80s. The goal set of Turkish folk departments are to raise traditional dance at a level of high art and to develop original teaching and presentation techniques for the folk dance. And Ictmd ensemble is the common name of the regular performance of the Ege State Conservatory of Turkish Music. In addition to stage projects to showcase the traditional dance repertoire in oratoria, and the Ictmd ensemble also conducts experimental studies on traditional dances. In the 19th, market of period of political instability and polarization in Turkey, there are also the years when ethnic identities and social demands have been expressed more openly. For example, folk dance performance for the Kurdish community have been a symbol of identity struggle and social resistance. Also, traditional dance performance began as seen in private televisions, channels and entertainment programs. And this caused the exhibition of dances more for entertainment and show purposes than the local context. If we can look at the Ictmd ensemble performance in first 10 years, we can divide it into two main groups. One is the folk dance staging covering local dances culture. The context of structural features of social dances are compiled from the traditional environments and described through the widely known story unique to the region. For example, the performance which we won first prize in the World International Folk Dance Festival in Poland, about the migration of high plains from the Taurus Mountains, harvest season, and the marriage ceremony was staged as a collage presentation in narrative integrity. By putting theatrical sections between the dance, integrity was tried to create under documentary performances. And also we can check the second part. This is the thematic folk dance staging. These are projects that are about important figures, even or phenomena in Turkish society. In these projects, theater, modern dance, ballet, and folk dance were used separately and presented together as an eclectic performance. In staging in the 90s, the effect of classical ballet staging techniques is seen too much, and maybe you know that we from the back of the stage and turning around, and suddenly the soloist comes in front of the stage, and when the audience focus on the soloist, he can do his dynamic performance, but choreo has to be slow, naive, and support the dancers, soloist. This is the most common classic ballet idea we were used in 90s a lot. For the staging in the 90s, the effects of classic ballet staging techniques is seen. In this period, presentation dance moves were staged of three forms. One is the imitation of traditional and original movement and attitudes of dance. Second, decorating local movements, the dynamics with classic ballet behavior codes. And one is the creating choreographies based on local movements systematic. The effort to use these three different techniques together in the same work in the extension of the evolution that is based on the idea that the link between traditionalism and modernity can be established. During this period, images were started to be used the staging in the background. In addition to live music, and shows also began to be performed with recorded with audio. In the beginning of the millennium, professional folk ensembles were established by private companies. This led the transformation of folk dance production into a line of work designed and marketed by professional experts. In their project, they emphasize the exotic Eastern image of Turkey and especially the Ottoman identity. The Anatolian dance culture is designed and is an Orientalist setup and it is intended to be visible internationally. Maybe you know that Irish folk dance ensemble, we have a copy from them, but we have to create our own system. They use their staging system, but generally they use the elements of Orientalism. For that reason, we put the belly dance and more exotic things because of the show. And also there is one thing, in 2001 we established the Turkish Folk Dance Federation, which is like a football, basketball, and also folk dance federations exist in Turkey now. And they became a sports branch when they used these things. For instance, nowadays many ensembles names change in Turkey. They have to put sports if they want to participate in the competition. And they have to have license like basketball player. And everything on the sport ideas it came. And of course, when they use it as a sport, the strict rules has to be in the competition. For that reason, it's become a, if it fell down, if some pieces from your costume fell down, you lost your competition. For that reason, it's very important to be strict in this discipline. The search of synchronicity in dance and perfection of stage setting has led to standardization of not only dances but also local dance forms, stage patterns. The commercialization of traditional dance has led to this art branch moving away from local and social context. The involvement of professional dance with classical ballet training, especially from the former Soviet Union nations, in professional folk dance ensemble has led to the decrease in local manner featured in dance while straining the sportive energetic nature of performance. When I read something, sometimes I do not understand also what I am saying, but I would like to say what I am saying, that there are many, after destroyed, there are many good dancers that came for money to Turkey, and this professional dance ensemble, they use them as in performance, but they have classic ballet trainers, but they want to dance as they beg or what is our traditional dance style. For that reason, the visible of the dances became a more sportive and attractive, but not in the traditional way. This is the result of in these days. In this period where Republican values are much more cherished due to a conservative party coming to power, to state projects as a, like Atatürk in Denmark, I think, to be born again with Atatürk in 2005, and also the dark red, it's meaning the flag, it shows the flag, and also there are something for Gallipoli Wars. We did a traditional dance theater performances in Turkey. Traditional dance moves has been used by stripping of the local meanings and loading different meanings outside its context. The local lighting used in these projects and sporting of narration with background video images are fashion of this period. In addition of the symmetrical staging, asymmetric stagings also started to be applied in certain parts of skin in different ways of and numbers where groups dance with independent movement sequence. I mean, before we were using classic ballet style and you have to follow always the symmetric things. But later in the 90s, especially they use 4 people, they can dance in that area, but the 3 people can do something other. It is the new fashion it was the new fashion from that time.
Just a small reminder, 20 minutes are already over.
Well, how can I do it? I spoke a lot. And especially in 2000, political migration and social movements in 2010 are most effective elements in public dance presentation. In this period, besides social issues, individual issues and identity also produced. Through the post-pandemic digital content production of social media, doctors have reached a wider audience. Live podcasts and digital platforms were lifted in the boundaries of stage performance and made them accessible for these things. And I mean, in this period, also we made a lot of joint project with the modern and contemporary dance people. But before finishing my words, I don't want to say like this is an evaluation theory. We are coming from here and we are going on that way. I don't want to say like this, but just I want to show that what's happening in Turkey now, how they influence each other in contemporary life. For that, I will stop here, but I have some videos in the when we can have a question time, maybe we can watch the video also at the same time.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. Let's open short class. Let's start with questions, or let's start with the video.
But the video is more, we can continue maybe.
Okay, so any questions?
Sorry for quality, but it is formalities because of the quality of the recording. It's not good. But we have, for example, this is was making improving piece.
Is the status number?
All of them is from Ictmd ensemble performances. I collected by the time from the beginning and later on you can see what's happening. People fantasy, from the story we created dance as a group, all the fantasy. In 90s, we used some shadow elements. She cannot have a baby for that. We imitate like a cinema. She is wishing her a baby. There's nothing in the background. They just in front of the because of the sportive elements, they have to be in order. Some things we are trying to show.
Yeah. So, questions. Do you want to let the video do the question?
Is it possible?
Maybe it's a little bit too much, but let's try. So, you had a question? So let's start with you and then.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So, I would like to ask you if in dance performance today in Turkey you use technical elements.
Technical elements.
Technical, yes. My opinion is that the art of theater is more developed than the art of dance as a performance. And I would like to know your opinions about it.
I'm really very happy to see new things. For example, last 2-3 years ago, the modern dance ensemble came to Turkey and they used to lighting, but they made a cube with the lighting and dancers dance in the cube, this kind of thing. It was very
Just to
interesting.
clarify, I think you said theatrical. Theatrical, not technical.
Tiyatral.
Theatrical.
Yeah.
Theatrical element. If you use theatrical elements in your performance, they
Yeah, what I want to come there. But from this kind of elements, they try to bring together and always wants to demonstrate dance not only as a dance in theatrical context. For that reason, now in our perspectives, we are writing dramaturg and theatrical preparation. For example, our last 2-3 performances, they always use some theatrical dramatic idea, how we can create this project. It is very common now and popular in Germany.
it's the same in my country also. The new direction is that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we have to watch at the time because we have 2 more speakers in this session.
A question about the Oriental space of between 2000 and 2010. Were there any reactions? And so it is a double question actually here. And was there any connection with the effort of the Ictmd during this period to reclaim the Ottoman past in a positive way for Turkey?
As you know, with the Erdogan in 2003, the Muslim government came and they called new stream, it is a new Ottoman, and it's a new Ottoman for them to be, now we are proud to be Ottoman. Before we were rejected the first 50 years. For that in the Ottoman elements in everywhere now. They are using in each performance, and also I watched some other, for example, theater something, they always use some projects from the Ottoman time. And this is new fashion in Turkey to be Ottomanism. It is good for them.
Thank you. I'm afraid we have to move on to the next speaker. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is also an important figure when it comes to the organization of this meeting. Paul Alexander is working at the Barbès University, and he's also the chair of Moreau. That's the ensemble that we're going to hear also in this conference. He's the artistic leader of this group, and his paper is entitled Traditional Scenic Dance and the Advanced or Non-Advanced Approaches of Choreographer Directors. Paul, please.
Thank you, Marco. So, traditional scenic dance serves as a vital link between cultural heritage and modern expression, acting as a bridge across generations through the use of movement, music, and text. It continues to thrive, preserving the essence of cultural identity while simultaneously evolving to meet modern artistics. The fusion of traditional dance with contemporary elements highlights its adaptability, showing how these age-old practices can resonate with modern audiences. As contemporary artists reinterpret traditional forms, scenic dance continues to influence, inspire, and shape the future of performance and the arts on a global scale. The modern choreographer director transcends traditional boundaries, acting as both the creator of movement and a visionary leader who orchestrates the entire production. The historical development of dance, along with the influence of choreographers on the evolution of modern and folkloric performances, could offer insights into some current societal trends, conform as in the landscape. Over the past decade, there's been a significant increase in the number of professional traditional dance ensembles in Romania. This trend can be examined through the lens of cultural policies and the instrumentalization of folklore by political entities. Contemporary realities in terms of folklorism and traditional scenic dance were foreshadowed decades ago, reflecting the common belief that history repeats itself. Based on my research, the evolutionary theory of folklore was first explored in the 19th century as part of the broader evolutionary movement in social sciences and anthropology. Naturally, at that time, the theory reflected that the realities of earlier historical periods. The evolutionary theory of folklore, initially proposed by Edward Bernard Taylor and later developed by Hans Niemann and Hans Breyer, has continued to influence subsequent research and still reflects certain contemporary realities. The late Anca Georgescu highlighted several important aspects in her work. The power in the paper, the power of dance and social and political uses, the case of Romania. Although in a different form, similar points from a political and cultural perspective were also raised by Speranța Radulescu. Her clear statement supports the idea of the degenerative effects of the communist socialist regime and some contemporary aspects on traditional cultural products that were tamed by politics. Quote, "National identity matters less than before. Folklore was an ideological tool in the hands of the communist regime. It was placed on folklore as an emblem of a nation led by an ethnic group of Romanians with a historical past 2,000 years and the whole song. And on the other hand, as a triumphalist expression of the communist regime." And after this, she completes her sentence with an analogy emphasizes Umberto Eco's idea. At the moment, society is very prone to hate. We have to hate something, to invent an enemy, to shoot all the bullets at. End of quote. Folklore has often been appropriated by political structures to promote national identity, leading to the establishment of numerous state ensembles, state-sponsored ensembles, as well as independent dance ensembles. While I am not passing judgment on whether this is inherited positive or negative, it is clearly, from a political perspective, that the culture, particularly traditional and folkloric culture, plays a crucial role in affirmative action in polities. Naturally, given the large name of ensembles, some perform their roles exceptionally well, while others may fall short, making quality more significant than quantity. I also found some old writings referring to the Geschichtenis Kulturgut or Hans Niemann's theory of decayed cultural goods in the research of the first Czechoslovak Republic. Otakar Hostinski and Leos Janacek laid solid foundations for Czech musical folklore studies. However, it must be noted that the part of Czech folklore studies during the first bourgeois republic did not properly understand the principles of Hostinski's historical method, and these methodology principles were alterated into a dogmatic assertion that folk songs are an eclectic creation dependent on general cultural conditions. However, after so many decades of research, are we able to raise the question whether the anonymity of folklore is a community asset manipulated by the political class and national policies or not? I have entered in this indirect subject because I wanted to emphasize that the political approach always shapes the way a certain area develops regarding cultural life. Quote, many case studies dedicated to the social political aspects of dance have analyzed the way dance is used as a symbol for the nation state as opposed to ethnic or regional communities. Since the beginning of the 19th century, in Central and Southeastern Europe, folklore as a product of the Volksgeist was used in polities to symbolize the national state and to strengthen national awareness. End quote. Another idea I would like to highlight is the proliferation of pseudo ensembles of mediocre quality, which are primarily focused on entertainment and profit. I frequently hear from my choreographer colleagues that these types of groups adapt their repertoire to meet limited objectives. I encountered this issue most recently at a Simpozion in Moldova, where some colleagues, choreographers, expressed concern over the large presence of dancers from the Republic of Moldova at weddings. They claim that the market of private cultural events is being suffocated by the low-cost offers from dancers coming from the Republic of Moldova. Of course, if we were to seriously consider the artistic quality of these performances, there will certainly be much to discuss, perhaps the topic for next coffee break or maybe after. For us researchers, the most important aspect is to observe how this type of ensembles contribute to the transformation of cultural roots in response to contemporary demand. So, the reality is that these groups are primarily focused on the financial gain they can achieve, which raises the question, can folk dance be considered big businesses? If so, can the business world recognize this domain as its own? However, there are also exemplary amateur ensembles that deserve the authenticity and quality of traditional dance. These groups should serve as the calling card for the future generations. In this context, let us consider an ensemble I greatly admire, not only for the performance but also for how the manager unites the group as understands the group needs. The manager is also the choreographer, an impressive woman with great potential. Each time I saw this ensemble to perform, I could sense the sense of responsibility that every dance group should aspire to. So the next example. Okay. So there is a Romanian saying, maybe have a correspondent in your culture. You can find it, maybe. The word sound, the deeds thunder. Besides the group leader and the choreographer, the community also develops a great responsibility regarding the cultural act. Traditional dance for some communities in which this phenomenon is still alive develops a beautiful role of social. What is more important than this is that specialists should interview in the performance only if it is to correct them if the new work, new dance is not in the right context or something simpler. I know and have heard that it is an interesting phenomenon, especially now after the pandemics, when many people moved from town to village, especially looking for this social bonding of the village. And in some areas, there is a great flourish of traditional life, which before was in decline. In Cluj County, for example, in the last decade appeared some groups in the mountain area villages that 10 years ago were no folk dance ensemble. We will see now a video example of Cluj-Napoca, which gives us an example of contemporary advertising. The great video of Charlie Chaplin. Traditional scenic dance serves as a vital link between cultural heritage and modern expression. I already read that, sorry. Yes. Those areas, some of them, above all what we do here and our research, should arrive in a form of communication to the political class, but to smart ones that understand our message and the responsibility of having not now, but over 20, 30, 50 years, good models of practice on the stage and within the communities. The last example of good practice is from Nick Video Dance Encyclopedia. Thank you, Nick. In reflecting on contemporary realities and also on this paper, I am convinced that an informed choreographer director, one who understands not only the physical movements but also the deeper cultural and historical meanings behind them, holds the key to effectively translating traditional dance onto the so-called modern stage. Those choreographers who read and engage with broader cultural, aesthetic and political discourses poses a vision that extends beyond mere technique. These advanced approaches, grounded in knowledge and reflection, contrast with those who treat dance as a consumer product or a very influential tool for political purposes. As society shifts away from traditional media, like television, and embrace more niche platforms, such as specialized social media pages and podcasts, choreographers must adapt. Also, the directors must adapt. The new generation values honesty and depth in artistic expression and dance must evolve accordingly. This perfect visionary think globally and act locally philosophy should guide choreographers as they blend global influences with local traditions, ensuring that traditional scenic dance remains both authentic and relevant in the changing world. And the conclusions are: traditional stage dance embodies the fusion of folklore within the performing arts, positioning it within the broader category of fine arts. Therefore, is the responsibility of both managers and choreographers to actively nurture and enrich this field, ensuring its continued evolution and relevance. As the landscape of traditional dance evolves, the emergence of both exemplary and mediocre ensembles highlights the importance of quality over quantity. This necessitates a critical examination of artistical standards, encouraging both practitioners and audiences to prioritize authenticity and artistic integrity in the promotion of traditional dance. The political context surrounding traditional dance can significantly influence its practice and reception. By acknowledging this dynamic, choreographers and cultural managers can better navigate the complexities of cultural representation and ensure that traditional dance serves as a genuine expression of community identity rather than a merely tool for political agendas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Time for questions. Anyone? Maybe I'll start with a question. Now in your conclusion you mentioned as a form of artistic standard prioritizing authenticity. In the stage context, I wonder how you would define it. Is authenticity for you still related to what's being presented on the stage and where it might come from, or is it maybe another concept, a new form of authenticity that's actually pertaining to the stage?
Yes, I find authenticity very complex phenomenon for the stage. And as a professional, I think this authenticity comes only from the performers if they can transmit their vibe to the public, because it's about two things that before were in the village. So we had the transmitter, the peasant, when they went for dancing. They dance by pleasure, and also they transmit it within the community. And all this phenomenon now is taken on the stage. We have also the one that dances, that transmits the message, and we have the public, but now the public is just standing down. It's not the community, it's not the common people they meet in the village, but we have the public, we have the receiver, and between this, also you have to make the connection. So that connection defines me as a director or choreographer. That connection defines the authenticity of choreographer. That connection defines the authenticity.
I understand, thank you. So it's more actually authenticity of artistic performance,
Yes,
and not the style or the tradition.
yes, artistic performance because it's on stage.
Yeah. Any other questions? Richard?
Well, I know that from Ictmd area you have some seminars, dance courses in your country. It does not exist in Turkey. And all choreographers comes together and they share, I think, their knowledge. Could you please give some information about, because of this connection, this network, how it influences the dance staging? Are they copying each other, or how they can do something? And is there any fashion to follow the road? And is there any people who is pioneer and everyone follows them? What's happening in Romania?
Yes, it is a very good title for a learning paper. I think it has many points for analyzing for this, because yes, they are meeting, they are sharing each other the information, but besides this, only the steps and the music and the things they share also the experience they live. So yes, it's like in the community. If you share all your experience, or in special it's like the same work you do, We are a branch. If you share the information inside your branch, I think the branch develops. So some of them are really conscious about this thing, and they take the information very good. Some of the experts say that it's not a good fact because it's really free information and quick, and the researcher have to research, very good for it. But yes, sharing is much a good, better instrument than keeping it for yourself and I don't know. So it's I think from my point of view, these meetings and these choreography meetings, it's a good phenomenon for the branch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Short question by Ayla, and we're moving on.
Thanks for the presentation. Actually, the continuation of the previous question. I wonder, so I was surprised to see that there are like 20 professional folklore ensembles in Romania. It's a huge number. So there's hundreds of people professionally.
There are more, but these are only with dancer corps.
Yeah, okay.
Dancer groups.
So even more.
Yes.
So the question is, what is the state of
considered the job of choreographer was director was not so common, but nowadays on stage dancing, yes, it's a common position. And the other point of view is that nowadays these professions, type of professions, because all of them they are connected between each other, start to be respected, to be important in the society. They have a role because, as I said earlier in the paper, we need that type of choreographer, that type of director that doesn't need only to manage, that needs also to read, to know about his and all the other branches. You need communication, you need advertising, you need promotion, you need everything. You need to make coffee. So this is my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks again, thanks for the question. And we are moving on to the last speaker of this panel. Vesna Stojičković has finished her PhD in Ethnomusicology at the Faculty of Music in Belgrade. She's a music and dance pedagogue, choreographer and artistic leader, and she is also the founder of the study program on stage folk dance in Belgrade. And this is also her topic, related to her topic today, which has a very long title: New modes of transmission of music and dance traditions in Serbia, Slovenia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina in 21st century. 3 examples of different approaches in coaching the leaders of folklore groups and their influence on the development of stage folk dance.
Thank you. Hello. My topic belongs to the third theme of this symposium. It's about transmission of music and dance traditions in 21st century, within which I will speak about new modes of transmission of music and dance traditions in Serbia, Slovenia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina in 21st century, which I conceptualized and conducted in the last 5 years. I will start my presentation with the fact that exactly 90 years ago, in the Kingdom of Yugoslavia, organized transmission of music and dance traditions began. It was in 1934 when Soccer Society in Belgrade organized a course of folk dances for the first time for the pioneers of all Belgrade soccer societies, which continued for the next 2 years. In that time, 1935 and 1936. Sisters Danica and Ljubica Jankovic, pioneer of Serbian ethnochoreology, who were very active in that years, stated that in the period after the First World War there were neither special schools for folk dances nor professionally prepared persons who would show how it was danced before the war, nor textbooks, nor descriptions of folk dances, while schools, sokols, scouts, units, and other societies, as well as orchestras, increasingly accepted folk dances. That's why there was a need for education. The Jankovic sisters also taught courses in folk dances, and it is assumed that it was the two of them who initiated education in that field in the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. In their second book, Folk Dances, they also wrote that the aim of these courses was to train future teachers of folk dances in theory and in practice, in order to transmit the folk dance to other members of the Sokol associations, as well as non-Sokol associations. In the period after the Second World War, when a new wave of traditional revival through stage folk dance began, a key question arises regarding the further processing of folk dances. This is so-called crisis period in the 1960s, and encouraged the experts of that time to implement certain reforms in order to unify choreographic creativity, that is, to develop in one direction in accordance with certain principles that they believe to be correct. Leading names saw a way out of the crisis in the organization of educational content of folk dances. Intensive education was started in Croatia in the early 1960s through the so-called folklore school, which was dedicated to artistic directors and future choreographers. Its founder was Zvonimir Levakovic, artistic director and choreographer of the Labo from Zagreb, and many years later, folklore school was led by Dr. Ivan Ivančan. Experts from all the republics of Yugoslavia taught in this school, and the participants were numerous from all parts of Yugoslavia. The program included dance and other traditions of all nations and nationalities of Yugoslavia, since the program of folklore ensembles with a professional or amateur included dances from all republics too. Looking carefully at the program in the mentioned school, it can be said that it was really comprehensive. The participants learned traditional dances, kinematography, laban, folk costume, rhythmic basis of dances, musical examples, basic folklore and ethnological terms, and encountered problems of cultural development, as well as basic choreographic procedures. The tradition of organizing folk dance seminars continued even after the breakup of Yugoslavia after the 1990s in some republics. In Serbia, since the 1990s, the Center for the Study of Folk Dances of Serbia, which was led many years by ethnologist and ethnochoreologist Dr. Olivera Vasic, maintained 30 years continuity. Folklore seminars or workshops exist also today in Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Slovenia, as well as in some places in diaspora. They comprehend learning traditional dances with music accompaniment, usually with accordion or some traditional instruments, traditional singing and costume. In a program, the seminars kept the ethnographic feature. A few years ago, I recognized the problem precisely in the content of these seminars. Stage folk dance has progressed greatly since the Second World War until today. Therefore, the content of the seminars can no longer be ethnographic, that is, that they must be supplemented with the contents of the stage folk and stage work and stage art. As well, the lack of the state formal education in folk dance choreography in all mentioned countries was an additional reason to think about a new program. Because of this, I designed in the last 5 years a project to focus on these elements, that are content on stage folk dance choreography, creativity, methodology of learning folk dances, and terminology in the naming of certain dance elements and motifs, where I encountered to a problem due to the diversity of its use, precisely in Serbia. The first one was a better dance practice met. That's why I called these professional meetings networking of theory and practice. The another topic on Belgian Dance Institute was a set of workshops on folk dance choreography I organized with the visiting professor, Dr. Anton Andono from the Academy. The participants of seminars were no longer passive dancers reproducing what they had seen, but they were creating. The another shift in program activities of dance seminars was a project I organized in 2022 under the auspices of the Fund for Refugees, Displaced Persons and Serbs in the region of the Autonomous Province of Vojvodina. Seminars were organized in Slovenia and Bosnia and Herzegovina with the aim to strengthen the activity of Serbian folklore ensembles in the region, especially after the conditions caused by the COVID, and to provide the necessary knowledge about stage folk dance, choreography, and artistic management. In this case, too, the participants, young dancers, and artistic directors gained knowledge about choreographic composition and creation. 4 seminars were held in Slovenia, Ljubljana, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, Banja Luka, Drvar, Trebinje, so in 2022. And the last example is a case of a seminar for dancers and leaders based in Ilijan near Sarajevo, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, organized annually since 2007 by the association Juticus Bašlija, named The Rhythm of the Heart, with specially designed content on folk song, dance, costume, choreography from the territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina for members of all of 3 confessions living in the territory of this country, Bosniak, Serbian, and Croatian tradition. There I have been involved since 2018 as a lecturer on traditional singing, global kinematography, and choreographic composition, and as a member of the expert team. Also, through theoretical and practical work on choreography, participants created compositions, and through practical work and exercises, they learned about stage work, creativity, and art. All 3 cases show a shift that happened in the 21st century, where ethnographic seminars are supplemented with artistic treatment, where every participant as individual learned to create. The process of learning folk dance is still presented, but they learn to understand a dance. Due to the focus on structural analysis of dances and their treatment based on elements and motives. The shift from imitative praxis in learning dance and strict principles of making choreography, as it was in all 20th century, is now put on individual, on the choreographer, on the author. My position and the position of other expert teachers in all these types of education raises the question about the role that an expert plays in the present day process of creating a new program for leaders of folklore groups in which we should see the shortcomings, find an adequate solution in the form of clearly defined practical and theoretical lectures, which can be immediately applicable in working with the folklore ensemble. Organize and implement them in order to develop stage folk dance art. The results of the mentioned seminars are visible very quickly after they hold. New choreographic productions are presented at concerts and festivals. New productions are more frequent. The artistic directors apply the acquired knowledge, and thanks to the online evaluation they did immediately after the seminars, they show that the acquired knowledge can be immediately applied in their work with the folklore ensemble. So used. That was the main goal, to help, to foster, and to develop stage folk dance art in a new way. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Vesna. Time for questions. And I start with a question. Or do you have a question?
Hello. I would like to ask you, how did you select the participants who got the chance to join the projects, the teaching parts of the choreography workshops, like you very much for your presentation. Actually, I saw that one seminar was in Slovenia, and I know how is situation with diasporic cults and everything. And I'm wondering if these diasporic cults were also part of this seminar, because I know how is situation with diaspora, with folklore seminars and everything, and yeah.
Yes, they organize also alone their seminars, but are mainly ethnographic, as I said, imitative. Yes, in Slovenia, where I also live, there is a huge number of Serbian diaspora, and they also organized themselves in separate associations. But this was led by Fund for Refugees from Vojvodina, and also the program of the seminar was completely different as they had before. Thank you.
Any other questions? And I might add something. I would be interested because these three cases, I mean Serbia, and then Bosnia with the Serbian defined territory, and then Slovenia with the diaspora community, are quite different. So how is this difference maybe showing in your work? Because there are different political, let's say, positions of the group.
Yes, interesting question. I thought about it, but when we see the artistic creation and individual dancer, it has his own creation. It doesn't depend if you live in Ljubljana, in Banja Luka. So we wanted to develop this kind of artistic treatment, and stage folk dance is an artistic approach to traditional, let's say, format, and so it is not, how to say, it doesn't depend on each. Also in Belgrade, we had master classes and workshops, so the same. The results are good, and dancers wanted really to express their creativity, their individual, not to be always part of the same choreography, dancing the same. They wanted to express their individuality also in a strict form of choreography, let's say. Yeah. Thank you.
Last question?
Yes, I wanted that in your presentation, the last word you say new way, to try to find a new way for the staging dance. Do you feel that there's influences from the other dance forms, like K-pop or something? K-pop is Korean dance style, for example. Is this kind of hip-hop dance or something like this? Is there any influences for new choreographers? Are they select something from there, and can you feel on the new staging, are they using this kind of elements which is taken from the other style of the dancing all over the world?
Understand. Thank you. At Belgrade Dance Institute, we did with students, but this is a study program, and we did connections with contemporary dancers, with ballet, and so on. But in folklore groups, no. There is only some kind of ballet, but not technique, but just some position from ballet dancers. Included in, let's say, exercises, but not connection with other genres in folklore amateur groups. Also professional has some in combination. But students from Belgrade Dance Institute did many let's say, to get compositions with colleagues from the other study program of contemporary dance, and they were very interesting, let's say, experiments, not a new way, let's say. Thank you.
So we have one more question.
Just following up, so technically you could take your approach, your case study, and apply it in Romanian traditional dance or Turkish traditional dance.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be available for everyone who does folk dances, no matter the country.
it's like a model. It can be valid. It can be used. Thanks.
Great, thank you. So somehow we managed to end perfectly in time. Thanks again, Vesna. Some words for us as well.
We are in a hurry. We will go to lunch, and after that we turn back here.
Where is lunch today?